There it is. All right, everyone. Welcome to Friday 15. I had to get my banner. I'm in the back here, Andy. I was sprinting to go get my banner behind my head. Anyway, welcome everyone to Friday 15. We got an exciting session for you today. My name is Brian Beck, here with Andy Hoar in the Master B2B universe. Welcome everyone to Friday 15. Andy, happy Friday.
Yeah, good to be here. Good to be here. Got a great topic today as usual, and this one's a little interesting because I think it's an emerging issue. So those are my favorites.
No question. Well, first we got to get into our breaking news, everybody. Okay, so Andy, did you see this? Major disconnect on AI. CEOs say AI is making work more efficient, but employees tell a different story. 40% of executives said AI saved them more than 8 hours of work a week, whereas staffers, 66% said they save less than 2 hours a week or no time at all with AI. So what is going on here, Andy? You know, executives think differently. This is no change of sort of the standard here, but what do you think is going on?
Yeah, I think what's going on here is it separates between strategic and sort of operational work. In the article, they talk about, the operational side of this is the tricky part. That's where AI is still not where it needs to be. If you want to have somebody write you a note, that's easy. If you want to have some analysis done, that's easy. But if you've got something very specific that you have to do, and that AI has not been trained to do, which is what a lot of operational work consists of, then you really
Yeah.
can't use it. There were stories in there about people who said, hey, I tried using AI to do this and it ended up taking me even longer than if I had just done it without the AI. CEOs, I don't think, have that problem because the kind of stuff that the C-suite, the kind of stuff that they're doing fits in very nicely with AI. I think the other problem is that it's also the case that a lot of C-suite people are insulated from the realities of these things. And so whatever they see, whatever they get has been sanitized to some extent. And so it could be that somebody did something for them using ChatGPT and already will eliminate all the errors and sent to them and said, hey, I used AI to do this. And they go, look at this AI. It's amazing.
Right. That's right. Yeah, it's probably also a little bit of wishful thinking. I mean, people are investing in this stuff and they're, the executives are the ones allocating the budget and they're going, wow, this is working. Is it really? Right. To your point about
in our roundtables, didn't we, last year, where people said, I can't hire anybody, but I can spend almost unlimited amounts of money on AI. Right. What was that coming from? And we've seen with the layoffs, we'll probably talk about that next week. Amazon laid off another 16,000 people. They laid off 14,000 people, I think it was, in October. So they laid off 30,000 white collar workers. And when you hear the company line, it's, we're substituting the old capital for labor thing. We're taking AI and we think AI is the way to go. And so to your point of wishful thinking, but a lot of these CEOs are using this as an excuse for productivity gains that they're selling to Wall Street, whether it's real or not. And so they have to push it down the chain. And obviously they're going to have a positive opinion of it, right?
Of course. Yeah, of course. A little bit of bias there. Well, folks, we're talking today about the paradox of trust. Speaking of wishful thinking, trust in the age of AI. Is AI impacting trust? People's trust in companies, people's trust in brands. So, Andy, how important is this whole trust thing in B2B?
Yeah, this research has started to emerge here, and it's pretty clear that, like, for example, some stats, trusted brands are 1.6 times more likely to receive personal data from customers, meaning if you trust this brand and the way they're using, say AI, for example, 1.5 times more likely to give them your data, which, by the way, is a lot of the gain here, right? Another thing is users are 5.5 times more likely to let AI agents make major purchases if they trust the underlying technology. We're going to talk about that one in a moment. And the last one here, and there's several of these, but this is another good one, 40% of consumers, so this is mostly in the B2C space, will stop doing business with a company immediately after a single trust violation. Okay, that's always been the case, but now that trust is on the table and AI kind of casts some doubt about things, this is going to be a lot more important, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's really fascinating. The first stat in particular, 1.6 times more likely. This has been happening for a long time, Andy, right? I mean, people are willing to surrender their personal information. Think about Facebook and all the way back to the days of MySpace, where you were surrendering your personal data in exchange for the ability to, to get something. People are much more likely, I think, to share that today. But so you get this AI layer now, and everyone's sort of, hey, should we trust this, right? I mean, and we talk about it ourselves, right? In terms of our own business, building trust. You've got several ways that brands do this. You want to go through these?
Yeah, and so that begs the question. We all know trust is important, but how the hell do you build it? And
Right.
more importantly, we're going to talk about this in a second, maintain it. Well, there's a lot of research that's been done on this. This is not a new issue, but it's become a more relevant issue now. And there really are 4 key ways in which to build trust. One, and these all seem obvious, but they're a lot easier to say than to do, right?
Right.
Number one, transparency. And everybody says you got to be open about your brand strengths and weaknesses. And doing so endears you to your customers. And you go, okay, of course, that's a no duh moment. But how many companies hide their weaknesses, right?
Right, exactly. Right. Yep.
Or if you make a mistake, they don't tell you what it was, or they try to blame it on somebody or gloss it over. But companies, just like people that are honest and open about what they do, about what they're good at and what they're not good at. I mean, how many times have you interviewed somebody and you ask them, hey, tell me what you're really good at? And then, you also say, well, tell me where you struggle a little bit. And if they say that classic line, well, I work too hard or whatever,
that's a great one.
it immediately disqualifies them, right? But if they say something like, hey, you know what? Here's an area where I'm working at this because I've typically not invested my time and effort in it, so I'm not as good at it, but I want to learn, and this is what I'm doing to get better.
Exactly. Then you believe everything else they say. Right?
Exactly. That's it. It really is. As I've gotten older, I've realized that everything is really about risk. Why do you think referrals are so important when it comes to hiring somebody? Can you not just find the candidate of your dreams online? What you don't know is whether that's going to pan out or not. And so this is one of my favorite phrases recently. I didn't even expect to even talk about this, but Kurt Cignetti, the coach of Indiana, we talked about football and how he took a bunch of 0-star recruits and made it into this team that won the national championship. Incredible. And he said, we prioritize production over potential.
Interesting.
That's my new favorite phrase, because would you take somebody who's been doing something really well and consistently for 10 years and delivered, but didn't have all the credentials, didn't have, all the typical kind of background? Or would you take somebody who's got amazing credentials and seems to have all this upside, but has never actually done it before? I think there's a bias toward the potential side. And in sports, people go, oh, I'll take the 7-foot guy who can dunk and run up and down the floor in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, there's a guy over here who's been scoring 20 points a game for the last 3 years. What the Cignettis of the world have pointed out is I'll take production over potential. And I think that goes along with this.
Yeah.
When you see somebody who's delivered, somebody who tells you the truth, that's a lot more important than somebody who might be good.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. Certainly listening to Cignetti would be a good advice for our B2B leaders here too, because heck, that guy took a program that was losing the losingest college football program in history, I think, right, Andy, and took it and won the national championship. So there's lessons from that for our B2B folks. What else in terms of building trust here?
Yeah, so some other kind of no-duh things like honesty. But, in the age of AI, this is really important because it's too easy to avoid. It's too easy to twist facts and figures. You can find a stat to support anything these days. In fact, ChatGPT or Gemini can actually take a stat and convince you that even though it's a false statistic, it still works. So companies obviously have to avoid doing that. But I think the really important advice here is you got to be proactive about updating your content for both real and perceived accuracy, right?
Well, that's
now the real world. What's that?
Remember the story we highlighted a few weeks ago where we talked about the company that built a whole, the luxury paperweights company, Andy, that built a whole business, a fake business. This guy wanted to test whether he could fool AI. You remember that? So this, I mean, this is a real issue. honesty, transparency, all these things about building trust. You can fool the AI engines, apparently, as he proved, to think you're a real company or that something is real. That's the core. That's one of the core issues here in terms of trust, in terms of, in this age of AI, right? So how do you avoid that, Andy? How do you fight against that in this world of honesty and
I think
transparency?
actually, and I think this is an emerging area. I think we will, in the next couple of years, see things that say things like, verified, you know, uh,
Thing. Yeah.
human approved, like, I think we could see that, especially for really important stuff, where
Mhm.
if it's medical advice, for
Yeah.
example, you ask
Yeah.
AI engine, I could see it coming back saying, by the way, this has been verified by our panel of doctors consisting of so and so and so and
Right.
so. And if there's other stuff that hasn't been, maybe because it just hasn't been seen yet, it would
Yeah.
say this has not been verified by our panel of doctors, but it might still be accurate, right? So we didn't have to
Yeah.
do that. When you went to the doctor, you didn't have to say, has this been verified by other doctors? I mean, you never had to say that.
Well, I think this is all moving to a point where human interaction and relationships is actually now more important than it ever has been, and will increasingly be. So it's kind of counterintuitive, right? Think about it, right? The more we use AI, the more we're going to value, the human verification and the individual interactions that we have, because do we really believe what the AI is telling us? What else is involved in building trust?
Yeah, well, consistency. And you can't just do this one time. And by the way, this goes back to, what every great coach has ever said. Tom Brady used to say, I wasn't the best quarterback. I didn't have the strongest arm. I wasn't the fastest guy, but I was the most consistent guy.
Right.
Every game I had a plan. Every game I came and showed up and I was ready to win. There's a lot to be said for being somebody who, again, delivers on a consistent basis. And the
Yeah.
last thing is, and this is a really important point, you have to build all this stuff into your product or service. You can't do all these other things and then your product sucks. Or, so there we say you got to deliver on the quality and the value that you promise. That's what a brand is. It's a promise. If you go to a restaurant, a chain restaurant, there's a promise that you're going to deliver a certain quality of that. Or if you buy a car, there's a certain brand promise that that car is going to meet a certain expectation. Companies sometimes forget that, or they separate it and say, hey, we say all this stuff. And I'll use banks as an example. Banks are great at saying all this stuff, but like Bank of America, takes, sponsors a ton of stuff, and I want to pick on them here, but talking about trust and this and that, and then they go out and set up fake accounts for people, and then they have to pay billions of dollars in fines.
That was Wells Fargo, I think, by the way.
Oh, was it? Well, I think B of A has done it too.
I know, because it happened to me, Andy. I'm a Wells Fargo customer, and by the way,
that disconnect does not work. Wells Fargo
these days
about being trustworthy, right?
Exactly, and these days they're fine. By the way, I think they fixed a lot of that. But yeah, there was. I remember, like, my wife and I 10 years ago were looking at, where did all these accounts come from? Like, what the heck? We didn't open all these. We had all these accounts, and like, wait a minute, and there's like 50 cents in them. Like, wait a minute.
Well, to make matters worse, as I recall, they denied it at first.
Yeah.
And then they have to admit that, oh yeah, it was part of our training program. Oh yeah, we did do it.
Yes. And that's part of this piece, right? Maintaining trust, right? This is the whole, once you have it, how do you maintain it? A brand like Wells Fargo has been in business for, 100 and 200 years or something, a long time, well recognized, so yes, they made a mistake when they denied that stuff, when they were saying, oh, it's not, it doesn't happen yet. Yeah, it was happening. So what's involved in maintaining trust, Andy?
Well, to that point, by the way, the first rule of finding yourself stuck in a hole is stop digging. It really is the case that, and I actually took classes on this in graduate school. They said, when you make a mistake, admit it. Admit it all up front, get it all out. People are generally fairly forgiving. The problem is when people do this drip denial stuff, it causes people to trust you even less. And it causes a lot more damage than if you just admit it. We screwed up. Here's what we're going to do to fix it. We ask for your forgiveness and move on. People will eventually forget about it. But too many people want to cover stuff up. But, there's a guy named Dan Coyle. I don't know if you heard him. He wrote a couple of books called The Culture Code and The Talent Code. And I was listening to a podcast recently, and this thing stuck in my head. He said there's a company called Zingerman's, and it's too bad that Jared's not on today, because Zingerman's is a famous deli in
Okay.
Ann Arbor, Michigan. It's been there
Interesting.
forever, and they've built a whole bunch of restaurants around it. They have a philosophy about how they run their business, which we'll get into in some other.
Does Jared love delis or something, Andy? Is that what's
Well,
going on?
he went to the University of Michigan.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yes.
But the guy there is pretty famous because he talks a lot about their philosophy, and he said it's pretty simple. We just understand what customers want, and we go the extra mile.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. The extra mile thing is the first point, which is demonstrate follow through. This is how you build trust. When you say you're going to do it. And by the way, just go a little bit farther. That's it. Give them a little bit more than they were expecting. So that's number one, demonstrating follow up. Number two, and we just talked about this, acknowledge your vulnerabilities. Again, there are probably legal reasons around not admitting some of these things, but B2B buyers appreciate brands that identify with, and perfection is not relatable, right? If somebody said, Brian, we've never made a mistake ever, and we never will, you'd be like, yeah, I'm not buying that.
Yeah, right. Yep, exactly.
And then the last thing is showing up on difficult times. It's easy to be there in the easy times. It's hard to be there in the hard times. So when a customer comes to you and says, hey, I've got a big problem, if you actually help them solve that problem, they'll be loyal to you forever. And, we see this a lot because we're often asked for help when people are looking for jobs, for example. In some cases, they've been unemployed for a while. They're really talented. They just don't know the right people. And when we've helped some of those people get jobs, they are grateful to us forever. And I think we just do it because we're decent people and we've been in those circumstances too. But that's the kind of thing. Show up in the difficult times.
In the world of e-commerce, Andy, and looking at these, maintaining trust things, I mean, demonstrating follow through, vulnerabilities, et cetera. The company that's done this really well is Amazon. Look, Amazon always, why have they succeeded? Because they exceed the expectations of the buyer. They are laser focused on the buyer. That's what they care about. And ultimately, for suppliers in the B2B side when they're selling on Amazon, they don't understand this because they're used to a different type of dynamic working with, distributors or their resellers. Amazon puts the customer first, and that is why they have succeeded. There's no question. They still do it. And so they, think about your own, when you order something on Amazon, how fast you get it. It often beats your expectation on how fast you're going to get it, the communication you're getting, all those things. Anyway, it's fascinating. As we were thinking about this whole maintaining trust thing too, Andy, I was thinking about, way back when I was a kid. Do you remember in 1982, the Tylenol? When they killed a bunch of people. Talk about a storybook case on how to react to negative news when something is difficult, when something's vulnerable, when something happens that potentially destroys your credibility and your brand. What Tylenol did at that time was they went, Tylenol, I don't remember what the parent company is, P&G or somebody, but they went and they fully acknowledged this was an issue. They recalled 31 million Tylenol capsules, or the boxes that have been sold. And they were like, hey, we screwed up. Yes, you did. You killed people. I think there was like fentanyl or something horrible in there. But it was a textbook case on how do you turn something that was horrible into something. And the report showed, and it struck me yesterday. I went and researched it. They actually built more loyalty in that brand through that horrible incident than they had prior. People were more likely to buy Tylenol after that happened than they were prior to. So, I mean, textbook case, really, on how you address something that's absolutely awful.
Well, I have a personal story about this related to Amazon. I think I mentioned this on one of our Friday 15s a long time ago, but it still sticks with me. My wife and I ordered a blood pressure monitor. We were just wanting to get one to be able to have the cuff here. And
I stretched it out. It's okay. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah. And it showed up. It was supposed to arrive at 12 o'clock. And it arrived at like 12:18. And we were getting ready to leave. And so I just texted Amazon and said, hey, no biggie. We have to go somewhere. Can you just give me an ETA on when this thing's going to arrive? And we ended up staying till it arrived. They said it should be there momentarily. It arrived at 12:18. I went downstairs. I picked it up. I brought it up. And I just texted them back and said, hey, it arrived. It's great. No problem. And they go, because it was 18 minutes late, we're giving it to you for free.
Wow. Wow.
I said, no, you don't need to do that. I mean, I was like, no, that's fine. It's 18 minutes. I was only texting because we had to leave. It wasn't that inconvenient. And they said, no questions about it. We've given you a credit for it. We're really sorry about that. Now, how many companies would do that? So they calculated something. This is the big difference, I think. Do you have a long-term customer value perspective, or is everything transactional? Because Amazon calculated, because we're Prime members, right? They're like, if we screw this up now, we lose them forever. But if we actually do something good here, they'll buy Amazon Prime. They'll do the movie stuff. They'll do everything, which is what we do. So we spent tens of thousands of dollars with them since then. And not because of that, but it really reinforced that if you fix these things, go the extra mile, show up. It wasn't a difficult time, but it was annoying. But hey, this is what works.
Yep. And you're still alive because you have your blood pressure monitor. So it's all good. And you
I do, but this is a culture, right? B2B companies are generally pretty good at this because they're very customer focused. You know, when they show up and the machine breaks, they're there. You know, when you need this part, they're there, right? I mean, Grainger, this is their whole mantra about, we're the guys that help you get things done, right? So it's there for customer service, and it's there for fulfillment. It needs to be there in the front end and in reality, not just in rhetoric. And I'm not speaking to Grainger, but you can institutionalize it everywhere. You can't just do it some places.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we asked our community, Andy, this question: if a company is 100% transparent in how and where they're using AI, how does this impact your trust? 77% said it increases my trust. Nobody said it decreases trust, and a few people said, hey, no difference. One comment I saw on LinkedIn said, hey, I assume everybody's using AI these days, so it really doesn't make a difference to me. But increasing trust, if company, again, it gets to the point, if companies are transparent about it, it can really really help people build and feel more comfortable doing business with them, et cetera. And we showed you the data. So we got to do a couple quick announcements, Andy. We're at Friday 20 plus here. So let's go through a few things. Folks, your Master B2B Nexus program is available to you. It is your personal digital lifeline for B2B executives. It is a paid service. We provide expert advice exclusively for B2B e-com execs and access to expert advisors and peers who can help you quickly with your decisions, getting you the right information. Go to our website, masterb2b.com, to find out more. Andy, we've got our summit coming up. It's just a couple months, not even a couple months away, 6 weeks away. Very exciting. We have a lot of people. I think we're almost full at this point.
Yeah, we're 90+% full at this point. Yeah,
which is awesome. And lots of subject matter experts joining us. We're going 2 days this year, March 10th and 11th at the University of Chicago. Go to our website, click on events. You'll be able to access and see more information and register for one of our remaining tickets. And finally, I want to remind everyone that our Friday 15 is available in podcast form on your favorite podcast service, also on our website, YouTube, etc. Please give us a review, only if positive. And that's all of our content for this week. Andy, any final words before we wrap our Friday 15 this week?
Yeah, there was one stat that we didn't get a chance to share that I was just looking at here, which really stands out. When customers rate an AI system as highly transparent, meaning people acknowledge the flaws, et cetera.
Right.
The research shows that customers are 8.5 times more likely to express high trust in the brand.
Interesting.
So as we get more and more into this milky area where it's not clear what's real and what's fake, this is going to be extremely important. I think the early research shows that.
Yep. So transparency rules, folks. Remember that in your business. Thank you, everyone, for joining. We will see you next week on our next Friday 15. Let's see if the band shows up, Andy.